We were doing experiments in the mid-1990s trying to see could the power of the mind in any way have something to do with it. And we'd done an experiment where we'd drawn a crop circle, sort of basically fairly simple, 6 circular elements in a line. And we had performed some kind of meditation, if you want to call it that, up on a hillside. And that exact shape appeared as a crop circle that very night.
What if the most advanced AI on Earth encountered a puzzle it couldn't solve? Etched not in code, but in fields of wheat. Across the globe, complex crop formations are defying explanation, triggering strange brain responses, baffling machines, and hinting at something far more intelligent than we imagined.
Physicist Terence Meaden has predicted in his plasma vortex theory, where charged columns of ionized air could create such patterns. What makes this footage unlike anything ever recorded?
Are these just clever hoaxes? Or is something, or someone, trying to communicate in a language beyond words? This investigation goes beyond conspiracy and into hard data, where artificial intelligence meets ancient symbols and the unknown stares back. What happens when machines detect a message we still can't understand? In the mid-1990s, a group of researchers set out to explore an idea that, at the time, was considered unconventional. They wanted to test whether the human mind could have an influence on the appearance of crop circles. As part of the experiment, they designed a simple shape, 6 circles in a line, and meditated on that image from a nearby hillside. That same night, the exact shape appeared in a field. This unexpected result opened the door to a series of questions about the connection between consciousness, intention, and unexplained phenomena in the natural world. While that anecdote may seem subjective or anecdotal, it was the beginning of a broader scientific curiosity that has since moved into more objective territory. Over the years, researchers have turned to artificial intelligence to assess the crop circle phenomenon in a way that removes human bias. With the ability to process vast amounts of data quickly and without preconceptions, AI has become a powerful tool in examining these formations. One of the first significant applications of AI in this context involved training a neural network on over 10,000 human-created designs. These included examples from architecture, ancient mandalas, mathematical spirals, and other symmetrical or symbolic patterns. The goal was to teach the AI how to recognize structures that emerge from human creativity and mathematical order. Once trained, the system was then fed images of various crop circle formations to see how they would be classified. The results were not what the researchers expected. A small but persistent number of these formations triggered unusual responses in the system. One particular shape stood out repeatedly. Rather than being confidently sorted into the categories the AI was familiar with, human-made or naturally occurring, it failed to classify the formation at all. The AI flagged it as an anomaly, displaying unusually high algorithmic entropy. This term refers to the degree of unpredictability or information complexity within a pattern. Simply put, the AI couldn't figure out how the formation fit into its training data, which was a combination of human artistic and natural forms. From a technical standpoint, this is significant. AI systems are particularly good at pattern recognition, especially when trained on large datasets. They excel at finding similarities and linking new inputs to known examples. When a trained system fails to classify something, it often means the input does not resemble anything in its dataset, suggesting the presence of something unfamiliar or entirely new. That is exactly what happened here. But the intrigue didn't stop with digital data. Physical inspections of these same crop formations revealed features that added further mystery. Unlike crop circles created by human pranksters or artists, who usually press down crops using boards or machinery, some of these unexplained formations exhibited intricate weaves. The stalks weren't simply flattened. They were interlaced in a way that suggested precision and care. To do this manually would require considerable time, effort, and planning, yet many of these formations appeared overnight. Even more puzzling was the lack of physical evidence typically associated with human activity. No footprints, no drag marks from tools, no tire tracks from vehicles. Just clean, untouched ground surrounding perfectly formed shapes. Aerial photographers and pilots have occasionally flown over fields to find nothing out of the ordinary, only to return shortly after and discover massive, geometrically accurate designs in the crops below. Some of these were the size of football fields and showed a level of symmetry and detail that would be difficult to achieve without advanced surveying equipment. The lead researcher of the AI study noted that the system's failure to categorize certain patterns was not a software glitch or data processing issue. The algorithm performed well on human art, mathematical designs, and natural phenomena, but it consistently flagged specific crop formations as being too complex, too ordered, or too information-dense to be classified. This inability to compress the data into known frameworks suggested that these were not just odd-looking crop circles, they were, by definition, anomalies. Patterns that did not behave like anything the AI had seen before. In information theory, the concept of entropy is often used to describe the amount of disorder or randomness in a data set. Human-created designs, while varied, tend to follow certain rules: symmetry, proportion, repetition, or artistic intention. Natural formations, such as spiral shells or snowflakes, also follow mathematical principles. But these anomalous crop circles didn't align with either. Their entropy levels were neither fully random nor traditionally structured. Instead, they demonstrated an unusual combination of order and complexity. Interestingly, this blend of characteristics has sparked interest beyond the realm of visual pattern analysis. Some scientists have begun to explore whether the unexplained formations might carry embedded information, possibly even symbolic content. While that idea remains speculative, the fact that AI systems recognize these shapes as data-rich has lent it some legitimacy. It's worth noting that these findings do not point to any particular origin theory. The AI makes no assumptions about who or what created the formations. It simply flags them as statistically unusual. That neutrality is a key reason AI has become so valuable in this area. It doesn't hold beliefs, and it doesn't get distracted by sensationalism. It follows the data. Still, the failure of pattern recognition systems to classify specific formations raises valid questions. Could it be that these shapes are designed in a way that our current tools and frameworks can't interpret? If so, that would suggest a level of sophistication in the formation process that exceeds what's typically possible with casual or amateur human efforts. To explore this further, researchers have conducted experiments where AI systems attempt to compress the image data from crop formations. Compression, in this context, refers to the process of reducing a complex image into a simpler representation without losing its core structure. The idea is that recognizable patterns compress easily, while novel or complex data does not. The same shape that stumped AI in classification also resisted compression, indicating a high degree of structural complexity. That result has implications beyond curiosity. In fields like cryptography and signal processing, patterns that resist compression often contain embedded information, data that isn't obvious on the surface. Whether or not these crop formations fit that definition is still an open question. However, the AI's consistent struggle with the same formations across multiple experiments has prompted researchers to look more closely at what kind of information might be encoded within the geometry. Another point of interest is how the AI responded to recurring elements across different formations. A number of crop circles, separated by time and location, contain specific features that the AI flagged as similar, almost like a recurring fingerprint. These were not shapes that resembled each other visually in an obvious way. but rather in how the algorithm interpreted their structure. The same mathematical features, ratios, or patterns of symmetry showed up again and again in the formations the AI could not classify. That consistency suggests some level of standardization, as if the designs are part of a common system or language. If true, it would imply that at least some of these formations are not isolated events, but parts of a broader pattern. Whether that pattern is intentional or simply coincidental is still up for debate. In any case, the combination of visual, physical, and algorithmic anomalies provides a compelling reason to study the crop circle phenomenon more seriously. While the majority of formations may indeed be man-made, the small percentage that elude classification continue to challenge assumptions. They sit at the edge of our understanding, prompting researchers to ask questions that blend technology, physics, and even consciousness. As artificial intelligence continues to evolve, it offers a new lens through which to examine old mysteries. With each advancement in pattern recognition, information theory, and machine learning, we gain a clearer view of the structures that don't fit established models. And in doing so, we get closer to understanding whether crop circles are merely a curiosity or something more. One of the most intriguing aspects of crop formations lies not just in their shape or appearance, but in the physical evidence left behind. While many people focus on the visual design or speculate on who or what may have created them, researchers examining the sites themselves have found features that are difficult to explain using conventional methods. This growing body of physical data has added a new dimension to the investigation, one that suggests the formations are not merely visual phenomena, but may involve complex energetic processes that leave measurable changes in the environment. When investigators began examining the actual crop at the sites of certain formations, they noticed something unusual. The plants weren't simply pressed down, as one might expect if someone had walked through the field with planks or mechanical tools. Instead, the stalks of the plants often appeared bent at near-perfect right angles, typically just above the node, the part of the plant where growth is most active. This bending was smooth and clean, not the result of breakage or crushing. Laboratory testing later showed that this type of bending required exposure to brief but intense bursts of heat or energy, something that couldn't be easily replicated with portable equipment or even standard farming tools. These plant changes aren't just superficial. In many cases, the internal structure of the stalks appears altered. Under microscopic analysis, researchers observed cell wall damage consistent with rapid heating, similar to what one might see if a plant were exposed to microwave radiation. This finding puzzled scientists because such an effect would require a concentrated energy source and a high level of precision. Again, not the kind of thing one would expect from a group of pranksters working under cover of night. Additional anomalies surfaced when thermal imaging was used at various crop circle locations. In certain cases, the ground inside the formations retained heat differently than the surrounding area. The heat signature, visible only through infrared sensors, often mirrored the shape of the formation itself. Even hours or days after the circle had appeared, the pattern was still detectable. This observation aligns with reports from individuals who visited the formations and described experiencing physical sensations, such as tingling, dizziness, or warmth in their hands. Phenomena that now appear to correlate with actual thermal data. One recurring effect, often referred to as the red hands phenomenon, involves visitors whose hands turn reddish upon entering the circle. Initially brushed off as psychosomatic or coincidental, this effect has since been confirmed by overlaying thermal imaging on those locations. The data suggests that some form of residual energy may remain active within the circles for hours or even days after their appearance. Whether this energy is electromagnetic, thermal, or something else entirely remains unknown. but its consistency across different locations has made it difficult to ignore. Electromagnetic anomalies are perhaps the most thoroughly documented aspect of the physical investigations. Using field sensors and electromagnetic meters, researchers found that the interior of certain formations often shows abnormal magnetic readings. These readings tend to be localized, meaning they conform exactly to the boundaries of the formation with little or no spillover into adjacent areas. This is significant because natural magnetic variations typically occur gradually over space, not in sharp geometric patterns. Some of the most compelling findings involve the presence of microscopic metallic spheres discovered in soil samples taken from within the formations. These tiny balls, often no larger than a few microns in diameter, appear to be made from a highly refined material that has undergone rapid heating and cooling. Metallurgists who have examined the samples describe the particles as highly unusual. Not something you would expect to find in a standard agricultural environment. They speculate that the spheres may have been formed in a high-energy event, possibly involving temperatures that briefly exceeded what's achievable with common portable tools. What makes these metallic particles particularly interesting is their consistent presence in formations considered genuine or unexplained, while being absent in known hoaxes. This has led some researchers to propose that these spheres could be a signature byproduct of the energy used to create the formations. If true, they could serve as a physical marker to distinguish between naturally occurring or hoaxed patterns and those that involve an unknown process. Additional laboratory analysis of soil samples from formation sites has revealed subtle but measurable changes in soil chemistry. In some cases, the mineral composition of the soil appears altered. Crystalline structures in the affected areas show alignment patterns that suggest exposure to a strong electromagnetic field. In simple terms, the soil particles seem to have reoriented themselves, almost as if they were magnetized or subjected to a powerful pulse of energy. These changes do not occur in control samples taken just a few meters outside the formation, which implies that the effect is not environmental or random, but confined specifically to the area of the design. One theory is that these effects are the result of an energy transfer process rather than a mechanical act. In other words, the crop isn't being flattened by tools or boards, but by an application of energy that interacts with both the plant structure and the soil in a specific and consistent way. This hypothesis is supported by the fact that the formations often show a high degree of precision and cleanliness. There is little evidence of trampling, no broken stems in some cases, and the designs are often executed with mathematical accuracy that would be challenging to achieve with ropes and planks, especially at night and over large areas. Some researchers have gone even further by using satellite data to examine the aftermath of crop circle formations. Using information from instruments like the Sentinel-2 and NASA's GRACE satellites, they have detected gravitational anomalies at certain sites. These deviations, while subtle, are statistically significant and appear to be localized precisely to the area of the formation. Gravitational mapping is an advanced technique typically used in geological studies, and the idea that a crop formation could affect gravity measurements is highly unconventional. Yet the data appears to suggest just that. Moreover, these satellite readings have occasionally shown changes in soil density and moisture retention long after the formation has disappeared. This suggests that the energy responsible for the design may be doing more than just altering plant growth. It may be affecting the ground at a structural or molecular level. These changes are not visible to the naked eye, but can be picked up by sensors designed to measure subsurface density and thermal gradients. Adding to this, some formations have been found to exhibit residual magnetic fields weeks after their appearance. When sensitive magnetometers are placed within the boundaries of the pattern, they continue to detect low-level magnetic flux, while similar readings taken just outside the perimeter show no such activity. These residual fields may decay over time, but their presence indicates that the formation event may leave behind a lasting energetic footprint. This brings us to one of the most fascinating observations: the boundary precision of these anomalies. Whether measuring electromagnetic fields, heat retention, or gravitational deviations, the affected areas almost always align exactly with the geometric edges of the formation. There is little to no blurring or gradient as one moves from inside the pattern to the unaltered field. This sharp boundary suggests a level of control that is difficult to explain. If the patterns were created through a haphazard process or natural force, one would expect a more gradual transition between affected and unaffected zones. Instead, what we find is something much more defined and contained. For decades, these physical anomalies were dismissed or ignored by mainstream science, partly due to the stigma associated with crop circles and their perceived link to fringe theories. But the data has begun to shift the conversation. It's no longer just about mysterious symbols in a field. It's about physical transformations that can be measured, replicated, and studied using modern scientific tools. The challenge now is to understand what kind of process could cause these changes, and whether it is replicable or entirely beyond our current technological capabilities. As scientific tools become more sensitive and AI systems more advanced, we are gaining new ways to study these phenomena. Machine learning can now map and analyze heat signatures, magnetic fields, and even molecular changes in the soil with a level of precision that wasn't possible a decade ago. These advancements may finally provide the clarity that has long been missing from this field of research. What remains consistent throughout the evidence is the presence of clear, confined, and measurable changes that distinguish certain formations from known human-made patterns. Whether these changes are caused by unknown technology, a natural process we don't yet understand, or something entirely different, one fact remains. Something physically real is happening in these locations, and it continues to defy easy explanation. One of the most compelling elements of the crop formation mystery is not simply how these patterns appear or what physical changes they leave behind, but what happens when we examine their structure using the tools of mathematics and information science. In recent years, artificial intelligence has taken a central role in this examination, helping researchers see beneath the surface and uncover patterns that are not visible to the human eye. What's being discovered is a level of organization, density, and intent that goes beyond what would typically be expected of artistic or random creations. Some of these formations may not just be designs in a field. They could be messages encoded in geometry. Entropy, in the context of information theory, is a way to measure the level of randomness or order within a system. When researchers used entropy mapping to study crop formations, they found something unexpected. Compared to a wide variety of both natural and human-made patterns, snowflakes, coral reefs, spider webs, crystal structures, and even architectural blueprints, certain crop formations displayed significantly lower entropy. That means they were more ordered and less random than almost anything found in nature or designed by humans. This discovery is difficult to explain using conventional theories. Natural structures, even those that appear orderly, typically contain a degree of randomness because they form through dynamic, uncontrolled processes. Human art and architecture, while capable of precision, often reflect intentional imperfection or stylistic choices. But the crop formations in question showed a kind of mathematical precision and structural order that appeared almost mechanical or engineered, yet there was no trace of machinery or tools used to create them. To visualize these differences, researchers employed AI systems capable of generating entropy heat maps. These tools overlay colors onto images to show where order and disorder are located within a pattern. The results were striking. The heat maps of crop formations showed centralized areas of extreme order, symmetrical relationships across long distances, and repeated mathematical ratios that mirrored concepts from advanced geometry. These features were not present in either natural formations or known crop circle hoaxes. One of the most remarkable things AI revealed was the presence of layered information. These were not just single-level patterns made of lines and circles. Many formations contained nested shapes, fractals, and sequences that revealed deeper mathematical relationships when examined closely. The more these patterns were broken down, the more order was found. Rather than falling apart into chaos as one zoomed in, they appeared to become more structured. This is the opposite of what typically happens with handmade designs or random processes. AI systems also found that many of these complex formations displayed relationships based on prime number sequences, golden ratios, and fractal geometry. These are not just abstract mathematical ideas. They are principles that appear in the natural world and are used in advanced science and engineering. For example, the golden ratio has long been associated with natural growth patterns and aesthetic beauty, while fractals are used in everything from computer graphics to modeling galaxy distributions. To find them embedded so precisely in crop formations raises the possibility that the creators, whoever or whatever they may be, have a deep understanding of universal mathematical laws. Perhaps more intriguing is the suggestion that these patterns might interact with the human brain in a way that goes beyond visual recognition. In recent years, the field of neuroaesthetics has explored how the brain responds to patterns, symmetry, and complexity. Using EEG equipment to measure brain activity, scientists tested how people reacted to images of both known hoax crop circles and those classified as anomalous by AI. The results were surprising. When participants viewed the more complex, authentic formations, their brainwave activity changed significantly. Certain regions of the brain associated with spiritual experience, awe, and pattern recognition lit up, while these changes were absent when viewing random or human-made patterns. What this suggests is that these formations may be tuned in some way to human perception. They appear to stimulate deep cognitive and emotional responses that mirror those associated with sacred geometry, religious iconography, and meditative states. The consistency of these responses across multiple subjects and studies hints at a universal effect. Something about the structure of the patterns resonates with the human brain at a level below conscious thought. AI has played a role here too. By analyzing the geometric properties of various crop formations, AI systems were able to predict which ones would trigger these unique neural responses before the participants had even seen them. This means the visual and mathematical characteristics of the patterns have a consistent and measurable psychological effect. It also raises an interesting question. Are these designs created with the intention of communicating not with our logical minds, but with our subconscious? This idea challenges traditional notions of communication. Most forms of communication rely on symbols or language, but these patterns might work on a different level. One that bypasses spoken language and taps directly into the way the human brain processes meaning and emotion. If true, it could explain why people often describe profound emotional or spiritual experiences when encountering these formations in person. It's not just the scale or the beauty, it's the structure itself that seems to provoke a reaction. The AI analysis didn't stop with human reactions. Researchers also began cross-referencing the geometric data from crop formations with celestial patterns, looking for any signs of correlation with astronomical events. What they found added yet another layer of complexity. Several of the most detailed and precise formations mirrored known astronomical structures. In one case, a 2008 formation closely matched the spatial arrangement of a distant pulsar cluster, something only recently identified using advanced telescopes. The proportions and angles of the crop formation were not only consistent with each other, but also aligned with real celestial data, down to remarkable levels of accuracy. More intriguingly, some crop formations have appeared shortly after the public announcement of new astronomical discoveries, sometimes within days. In a few cases, the designs seem to reflect structures or alignments that were not known at the time they appeared, raising the question of how such information could have been included. While this may be coincidence, the statistical frequency of these correlations has led some researchers to consider whether the formations are in some way linked to celestial events or information. Another theory that has gained traction is that these formations may serve as a kind of cosmic map. When AI systems were tasked with analyzing multiple formations over time and across different locations, they began to detect recurring motifs and spatial relationships that pointed to specific regions of the sky. These geometric markers seem to encode coordinates or alignments that correspond with astronomical phenomena, such as eclipses, meteor showers, or planetary alignments. The timing of many formations supports this theory. A number of them have appeared within hours or days of significant astronomical events. In some cases, the formations have even anticipated such events, suggesting a synchronization with celestial mechanics. If true, this would indicate a deliberate connection between the designs and the movements of bodies in space. The question then becomes, are the formations pointing us toward something specific? Are they a kind of calendar, a navigation system, or something more symbolic? AI analysis also revealed that certain formations seem to follow a structured logic, almost like a visual language. Across years and continents, some of the same geometric signatures appear repeatedly. These recurring elements are not exact duplicates, but they share proportional relationships and alignments that suggest continuity. The idea that these might represent a coherent system of communication, one that spans time and geography, is difficult to ignore. This line of thinking led some researchers to apply the concept of the Turing test to crop circles. Originally developed as a measure of a machine's ability to exhibit human-like intelligence, a kind of visual Turing test was designed to see whether AI could distinguish between human-made, computer-generated, and unexplained crop formations. The results were revealing. The AI consistently failed to categorize the authentic formations as either human-made or algorithmically random. It placed them in an entirely different group: algorithmic anomalies, structures too advanced for conventional tools, yet too orderly to be accidents. The implication is that we may be dealing with a form of information transmission that exists in plain sight, but requires the right tools and methods to decode. As AI technology continues to improve, it may eventually allow us to translate these patterns into a language we can understand. Whether the source is human, extraterrestrial, or something entirely different, the key insight remains the same. These formations contain real, measurable, and intelligent structure. They are more than just flattened crops. They are layered, information-rich designs that challenge our understanding of communication, geometry, and even consciousness itself. Some of the most compelling pieces of the crop formation puzzle come from witness accounts, historical patterns, and what appear to be intentional interactions with human consciousness. These aspects push the mystery far beyond simple field designs and into the realms of psychology, consciousness studies, military surveillance, and even history. While conventional science continues to treat the phenomenon with skepticism, recent developments, especially those involving artificial intelligence, are prompting a reevaluation of long-held assumptions. What emerges is a picture of continuity, complexity, and perhaps most intriguingly, interaction. One recurring theme in the crop formation discussion is their ability to appear in highly monitored areas without any apparent human intervention. Sites like Stonehenge and other archaeologically protected zones are under constant observation, yet intricate crop formations have appeared in nearby fields overnight, with no detected activity. Security patrols, motion detectors, infrared cameras, and radar systems typically fail to capture any footage of individuals creating the patterns. This has led some researchers to suggest that if people are responsible, they must possess tools and stealth methods beyond anything currently known or easily available. Alternatively, it raises the possibility that the formations may be appearing through non-conventional means, possibly even instantaneous or energetic processes that do not involve physical movement in the traditional sense. Eyewitnesses have consistently reported strange occurrences surrounding the appearance of crop formations. These accounts come from farmers, pilots, security guards, and local residents. A common thread in these stories is the sighting of orbs of light, small glowing spheres that appear to hover above fields before a formation appears. In some cases, people have reported seeing these orbs coalesce and emit a brief flash of light, after which a new crop formation was discovered. While difficult to verify, these reports are remarkably consistent across different locations and time periods. Another frequent observation involves unusual aerial craft, silent, often triangular or disc-shaped objects that move in unconventional ways. These craft are often seen near the time and location of new formations, and are sometimes accompanied by sudden malfunctions in electronic equipment. Compasses spin wildly, batteries drain instantly, and cameras fail to capture images. Interestingly, these failures tend to be confined to the precise boundaries of the formations. Outside of them, the same devices resume normal operation. This suggests that a localized electromagnetic effect is at play, one that interferes with electronics in a very specific area and for a limited duration. These electromagnetic anomalies have been corroborated by data collected from specialized equipment. Sensors placed inside and around crop formations often detect bursts of magnetic or radio frequency energy. This is particularly notable because many of these formations appear in remote, rural areas far from power lines or industrial equipment. The idea that such interference could happen without an obvious source is difficult to explain using conventional theory. If the patterns are being made by pranksters with planks, why would their work produce measurable electromagnetic fields? In some instances, radar systems operated by military and civilian air traffic control have picked up unidentified objects in the same areas, and at the same times crop formations appeared. These radar signatures often display behavior that defies conventional flight physics: hovering, sudden acceleration, 90-degree turns, or vanishing entirely. Some objects have been tracked accelerating from a standstill to several thousand miles per hour in less than a second, something no known aircraft can do. These anomalies, while rare, have been documented by credible sources and are difficult to ignore. One of the most extraordinary cases in crop formation research occurred in 2002 with the appearance of a formation near Crabwood in Hampshire, England. This design depicted what looked like a humanoid figure holding a disc. When analyzed, researchers discovered that the disc contained a binary code, ones and zeros, arranged in a spiral pattern. Converting the binary code using standard SC encoding revealed a coherent message in English. The message warned of deception and urged humanity to be cautious of certain false promises. While the origin and intent of the message remain unknown, the formation demonstrated an unprecedented level of sophistication. The precision required to lay down a legible binary sequence in a spiraled format without misalignments or errors is immense. What made the Crabwood formation even more remarkable was the discovery that it might contain multiple layers of information. Modern AI systems trained to recognize hidden structures and data detected patterns within the formation that suggested there could be more encoded than just the binary message. Subtle geometric relationships, proportional spacing, and recurring motifs. hinted at a deeper symbolic or mathematical meaning yet to be deciphered. This layered complexity is a hallmark of many of the more enigmatic crop formations. What appears at first to be a simple picture or design often contains hidden ratios, sequences, or even coordinates when analyzed with the right tools. Another dimension to this phenomenon involves reports of intentional interaction between human consciousness and the formations. Over the years, multiple controlled experiments have suggested that there may be a link between human thought and the emergence of specific patterns. In some cases, groups of researchers or meditators have gathered to visualize a particular geometric shape or symbol with the intent of having it appear in a nearby field. Remarkably, the patterns they focused on have, on occasion, appeared within days in a similar form. These are not vague similarities either. Specific shapes, ratios, and angles often match the original visualized pattern. AI analysis has lent some credibility to these claims by calculating the statistical likelihood of such matches occurring by chance. In many cases, the similarities are well outside the bounds of random occurrence. This has led some researchers to speculate that the formations may be more than messages, they may be part of an interactive system. That is, they respond not only to physical circumstances, but also to mental or emotional input. If true, this would indicate a form of communication or co-creation involving human consciousness and an unknown external intelligence. Historically, the phenomenon may not be as modern as many people assume. One of the earliest known references to a crop formation appears in a 1678 pamphlet titled The Mowing Devil, which describes a strange circular pattern in a field of oats, reportedly formed overnight after a farmer refused to pay a reaper. The design was said to have appeared following a flash of light and was described as impossibly precise. While interpretations vary, many researchers see this as a possible early account of the same phenomenon we observe today. The descriptions of glowing light, sudden appearance, and geometric precision are remarkably similar to modern reports. More broadly, AI-assisted studies of historical records have found consistent themes in the evolution of crop formations over time. Earlier formations tended to be simple circles or rings, but as human understanding of mathematics and technology has grown, the patterns have become more complex. This trend has led to the theory of slow acclimatization. The idea that whatever intelligence is behind the formations is gradually increasing their complexity in step with our ability to understand them. Simple designs in the past, more advanced structures today, and potentially even more complex messages in the future. This progression also aligns with advances in AI and machine learning. As our tools for analyzing patterns become more refined, so does our ability to recognize layered messages, precise ratios, and embedded information. It's as if the formations were waiting for us to catch up. What once appeared as mere art in a field is now being reclassified as highly structured data that might function as a form of communication. Still, for all the documented phenomena, there remains an overwhelming silence from official institutions. Despite evidence collected over decades, eyewitness reports, physical anomalies, electromagnetic signatures, and now AI-backed analysis, mainstream scientific bodies have shown little interest in rigorous investigation. When the topic is covered in media or academia, it is often accompanied by jokes or attempts to link the phenomenon to known hoaxes. This dismissive approach ignores the small percentage of formations that continue to defy logical explanation. AI, however, does not operate with bias or preconceived notions. It looks at patterns, structure, and data. When presented with crop formations, it repeatedly flags a specific subset as algorithmic anomalies, designs that cannot be classified as either human-made or naturally occurring. These structures possess internal logic, layered complexity, and measurable energetic effects. They appear deliberately placed, precisely executed, and highly controlled. As AI tools continue to evolve, they may eventually provide us with the key to understanding what these formations are trying to tell us. Whether the source is extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or something far beyond our current comprehension, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. These patterns are not random. They are consistent, structured, and intelligent. And they are trying to communicate something, perhaps waiting for us to truly listen.